Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot, and in this video I would like to provide you some guidance on how to improve your crosswind landings. Now, I have already released a crosswind landing tutorial video a while back, which I'm going to link to in the video description below, which is going to provide some more extensive explanations than this one, which is really focused on more showing you how to improve your crosswind landings. Now, the first thing that we have to agree on here is in a crosswind condition, performing a smooth touchdown is not what you want to do. What you want to do is to perform a positive touchdown so that you won't be blown off the runway. Now, let's have a look in the situation in which we currently are. We're currently on final approach to runway 24 left at Palma de Mallorca Airport. We are on speeds, we are pretty much on the localizer, a tiny bit above the glide, but we can see we are still within the stabilized approach criteria. So here's the first thing. We have a direct crosswind coming from 150 degrees at 25 knots stable and gusting 33 knots. Note that this is on the ground, so Microsoft Flight Simulator makes it a bit more severe up here in the air. And this is the exact crosswind limit of the Boeing 737 in dry conditions, 33 knots. Now in wet conditions, it will depend on the actual severity of how strong your brakes are impacted. So 33 knots is going to be the maximum crosswind in dry, wet, braking action good, and braking action good to medium conditions. Anything stronger than that, and your crosswind limit reduces. But that shall not be the topic of today's video. Today, let's have a look into the two landing techniques that we are going to use. There are actually three published in the flight crew training manual, but one of them is not so applicable, at least in my airline's operation we don't do it. So here's the two techniques. We currently have a situation where the weather is windy, but we have dry conditions. And in this situation we are going to try and decrab the airplane during the flare. The objective of that technique is to maintain wings level throughout the approach, flare and touchdown, and on final approach a crab angle is established with wings level to maintain the desired track just prior to touchdown, while flaring the airplane downwind rudder is applied to eliminate the crab and align the airplane with the runway centerline. As rudder is applied, the upwind wing sweeps forward, developing a roll moment. Hold the wings level with simultaneous application of aileron control into the wind. The touchdown is made with crossed controls and both gear touching down simultaneously. Throughout the touchdown phase, upwind aileron application is utilized to keep the wings level. This is the technique we are going to use in VMC with dry runway. Now, if the runway is wet, then things are going to be a bit different, and I'm going to explain that a little bit later in this video. So let's first focus on the decrab during flare technique. I'm going to unpause the simulator in a moment, but before I do that I want to show you something that is really nice to demonstrate using Microsoft Flight Simulator's active pause feature. And I told you we have wind conditions at the moment of exactly 90 degrees off the center line at 25 knots, gusting 33 knots, so maximum crosswind conditions. However, as you can see, the auto throttle is off and we have a stable thrust set. I'm not changing the N1, but as you can see the speed is rather stable in these conditions. You can see it deviates by a few knots. However, in these conditions, since the crosswind is directly cross, we do actually not have to increase our speed. However, I did it myself nonetheless, just in case when you overfly the boundaries of those forests up there or the slight hills over here outside the airport terrain, then chances are you might get a little bit of a speed increment or decrement, so that's the reason I added a few knots. But look at, when you're looking outside, how those trees are actually moving in the wind over here. This is going to be a very interesting landing. Okay, so before we unpause the simulator, let's summarize. We are going to maintain the crab angle all the way down till just prior to touchdown. Then I'm going to kick the right rudder to align the runway with the aircraft, so to align the aircraft with the runway centerline, and at the same moment I will need to apply some aileron in order to keep the aircraft wings level. Now, one thing said, we are pretty close to the runway up here, so the moment I unpause the simulator, things are going to go very quickly. But hey, let's go right into it, shall we? So, I'm keeping wings level. And as we're about to start
50,
the flare,
40, 30, 20, 10.
aileron, rudder, touchdown. Don't flare it too much. And get it right onto the runway centerline and keep it there. You can see at the bottom of the screen that I'm using a little bit of aileron as well. And as the speed decreases, things get easier to control. We don't need that aileron anymore. And that's it. That is the decrab during flare technique. As you can see, I aim to steer the airplane exactly onto the runway centerline, and only in the last moment prior to landing, I kick the rudder in order to remove the crab angle, and at the same point, the aircraft develops a rolling moment, so aileron input is needed. Basically, let's have a look into what this looks like on the controls. Basically, this is what you do. So, more or less at the same time, you know that kick in the rudder is going to give you a rolling moment, so don't even wait for it to develop. Just kick it, give it your aileron, and then put the airplane down. Don't hold it off the runway, you want it right on that ground. Alright, let's go ahead and discuss the second technique, which is the touchdown in crab. First of all, what does crab mean? It doesn't mean that everything is going downhill. No, it means that the airplane does not directly align with the runway heading, as we can see right here, right now. And yes, it does look strange that the brain continues to be blown along while the simulation is actually paused. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and look into what we are about to do. So, back to our flight deck, we can see how the nose is still about 15 degrees pointing to the left hand side here, and what we are about to do now is to use the second crosswind landing technique, which is touchdown in crab angle. Now, the airplane can land using the crab only technique up to the landing crosswind limit speeds. And here's the thing, this technique is primarily used when the airplane is wet or slippery. And the reason for that is that we don't have to decrab the airplane over the runway, so we just touch it down, then align it with the runway, and that makes everything a bit easier, while at the same time it provides for an earlier touchdown, and therefore we get the speed brakes out earlier, and we can use our thrust reversers earlier. Now here's what the flight crew training manual says about this technique. On dry runways, upon touchdown, the airplane tracks toward the upwind edge of the runway while decrabbing to align with the runway. Immediate upwind aileron is needed to ensure wings remain level, while rudder is needed to track the runway centerline. The greater the amount of crab at touchdown, the larger the lateral deviation from the point of touchdown. For this reason, touchdown in a crab-only condition is not recommended when landing on a dry runway in strong crosswinds. On very slippery runways, landing the airplane using crab-only reduces drift towards the downwind side at touchdown, permits rapid operation of spoilers and auto brakes because all main gears touch down simultaneously, and may reduce pilot workload since the airplane does not have to be decrabbed before touchdown. However, proper rudder and upwind aileron must be applied after touchdown to ensure directional control is maintained. Now, what does that mean for the landing that we're about to do? We are basically going to do the following. The moment I unpause the simulator, we are almost at the minimum, so we will only have very little time available, so I'm going to explain it to you before we actually unpause. Now, we are going to fly the airplane on the extended centerline, and we are simply going to touch it down like this. Don't be surprised if you look at the navigation display. This is a track up display, so this over here is actually our heading and where the plane is pointing. You can see it a little bit better on the primary flight display, where we have a heading up display. So the heading is 223, while the track is actually 237 and aligned with the runway course, as we can see by the heading bug on the primary flight display. Now we are going to touch the airplane down like this. Now, Microsoft Flight Simulator physics aren't always 100%, which in this particular case simply means that the airplane might start drifting anyway. In real life the same could happen if the runway is not very slippery, as the flight crew training manual says, but simply wet or damp, and therefore we are going to have an interesting landing on this one. Now, the moment our main wheels touch down, we are going to apply a rudder to the right hand side in this particular situation, as the wind is coming from the left, but we have to apply left aileron in order to prevent the entire airplane from banking to the right while we are aligning the airplane with the runway center line. Therefore we have to use aileron in order to keep the wings level. So what we are going to do is the following: right rudder, left aileron. And we are going to do that right after landing. Okay, now that we've talked about the technique, let's go ahead and execute it. Here we are on the approach, tracked, and even though it just stopped raining, the runway is still wet, so we are still going to apply this technique. Continue. We can see we are established on the center line, and I'm not going to decrep the airplane prior to touchdown.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And here we go. You can see immediate aileron was needed and immediate rudder to align us with the center line. Don't wait with the rudder, otherwise your airplane is going to start to move to the upwind's edge of the runway. This is a time critical exercise, so be immediate with your rudder to keep the airplane on that ground. Okay. Here we go, manual braking. For the purpose of the exercise, I'm going to bring the airplane to a stop on the runway. I hope that you have learned something in today's video, and that you can use this to enhance your personal landings. If you do, then let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member where you can get early access to new videos, and if you don't want to become a member for whatever reason, then you can just make a donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below as well. Either way, I would like to thank you very much for being with me on this flight. Hope that you have enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to hear what you guys think and what you are doing different.